It's easy to preach after all that, isn't it? Man, I'm getting ready to just bring it today. Are you ready for that? Today I want to talk about risk. This is Big Iron Sunday. You see some things in the church maybe you've never seen before. Maybe some people you've never seen before in the church. But I want to talk more specifically right now about the stuff in the church that you've never seen. A motorcycle on stage, a fire truck outside, a four-wheeler right in the middle there. And I want to talk about risk today, because I'm sure many of us are familiar with risk. Some of us are more prone to risk than others. Some of us invite risk. Some of us try to stay away from risk. But I want to tell you something today. All these things that you see, you can take a risk on a motorcycle, amen? Right, Brian Willard? You can take a risk on a four-wheeler. You can take a risk if you're a fireman and you're on a fire truck. Guarantee you that is a risk that is taken. But you know what? All of us fail to compare with the biggest risk that one person can take. Because the biggest risk that you can take as a human being will never be found on a motorcycle, even a Harley Davidson. It will never be found on a fire truck. It's not going to be found on a four-wheeler. The biggest risk is not going to be found jumping out of some plane. It's not going to be found even in a casino in Las Vegas. That's not the biggest risk. Let me tell you about the biggest risk. Because maybe you're here today, and maybe you're unaware of the biggest risk that we can take as human beings. And the biggest risk you can take is walking out of this world without Jesus Christ. Amen? That is the biggest risk you can take. You fall from a motorcycle, you die. Okay? That's pretty basic, right? You go out of this world without Jesus Christ, the ramifications are eternal. Okay? I want to talk about that risk today because I believe there are some people here who know about the risk, okay? And there are some people that don't know about the risk. And for the people that don't understand that you might be at high risk spiritually here today, I want to go over that very quickly to see for yourself if you are high risk spiritually. Maybe today already you realize you're high risk. But nobody's ever really told you how to alleviate that risk in your life spiritually. You know who you are, you know what you've done, you maybe even know where you're going, but nobody has ever unfolded for you what happens next. How do I get rid of this risk? And I want to talk about that today. I got a word, we're going to have an acronym of risk. Okay, so I'm going to go through 4 words I want you guys to think about today. 4 words I want you to keep on your mind and your heart, and whether you've been in the church for 25 years or whether you are new here with us today, these words go out to all of us. And it's either a fresh start today or it's a reminder for the life that you live. Okay? And the first word I want to talk about in the R for risk is reality. And I want to talk about something. If you are high risk, and I'm going to walk through that, you're going to see, you will know by the time you leave here today whether you are high risk or not. But you're going to have a choice on what to do with that. The R stands for reality. And here's what I want you to do with reality. I want you to embrace it. I don't want you to consider it. I don't want you to just ponder it. I don't want to just kind of go through the drive-thru of your mind. I want you to embrace reality. Because that's how you take that high risk spiritually in your life, and that's how you alleviate it. The first start there is to embrace reality. So here's reality. Reality is this. There is a God in heaven. And He is a holy and righteous God. And that holy and righteous God has a holy and righteous standard. And there is an enemy out there called the devil. And he's real. And God's real. And there's a heaven, a literal heaven. And there is a literal hell with literal flames. I want you to know that. Maybe you're here today and say, you know what, Pastor, you just lost me because I don't believe in any of that stuff. But let me tell you this. Truth does not stand on your opinion alone. Right? Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with what you believe. Okay? If you don't believe in a literal hell, guess what? It still exists. If you told me this morning that I don't believe in fire trucks, would it make it disappear outside? Probably not. In fact, we know it wouldn't. The reality is that there is a holy and righteous God with a holy and righteous standard. And that standard is called the 10 Commandments. And maybe you've heard of them. Maybe you're able to recite some of them. It's surprising to see how many Christians don't know them. But I know about them. But here's another reality. We're talking about all that. Here's another reality you have to embrace. You cannot get past. And that's the fact that you are wretched, that I am wretched, that your grandma's wretched, that kids are wretched. We know that. But the fact that we're not good people, okay? You have to embrace that reality, because if you don't embrace this reality, we can't even move on to the next one, but we're going to anyway. You have to embrace reality. There's a holy and righteous God, and there's me over here, and I'm not a good person, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Maybe you're sitting here today thinking, well, man, I thought I was a good person. My mom and dad think I'm good. I think I'm good. My wife, she's still with me. She thinks I'm all right. So here's what I want you to do. The next letter here is I. And here's what I want you to do with I. Talk about reality, to embrace it. I want to talk about identify. Now you can identify on your own, and I want you to know that. We need some help. We have some help because God wrote us some letters in His Word, and we follow the Bible. He's given us these instructions. So we want to identify biblically where you stand today. All right? Identify biblically. Think about this. Talk about the 10 Commandments. It's not so much important how you see yourself. You can look in the mirror. I passed by the mirror just today and stopped for a second and kept walking. You know, it was all right. I look all right today. I like these new jeans I got. It feels nice. How many are feeling comfortable in your jeans today? Okay, a lot of you. That's great. But it doesn't matter what Joe Drew thinks about himself. It doesn't matter what you think about yourself. More importantly, it matters what God thinks about you. So we look at His holy and righteous standard because He's a holy and righteous God. You take a look at the 10 Commandments. I'm going to ask you a question. You see where you're at. Have you ever told a lie? You don't have to say amen or yes. You can just answer that in your mind right now. Have you ever told a lie? The answer is yes. I've told a lie. You've told a lie. We're in the same boat there. Well, guess what? What does that make you? That's breaking the 9th commandment. A holy and righteous God with a holy and righteous standard, and we've already wrote that. We've told a lie. What does that make you? Some may say, it makes me human. True, it does. It makes me like everybody else. You're right, we're on the same boat, but here's what it also makes you. If I lie to you, what do you call me? A liar. That was easy. If we tell a lie, folks, we are liars, okay? And that's how God sees us. Let me ask you another one. Have you ever stolen anything? Now remember, you just told me you were liars, so don't kind of sidestep this one. Have you ever stolen anything? Size is irrelevant. Stick a gun as a kid or a car lot last week. It doesn't matter. Size and value is irrelevant. Have you ever taken something that is not yours? The fact of the matter is that we all have. We've all done that. Whether it's, like I said, a stick gum or MP3 or whatever that is in your case. We have taken stuff that does not belong to us. And what's that make you? It makes you a thief, doesn't it? I mean, if I stole something from you, if I took $1 out of your purse today, you say, our pastor is a thief. Let me ask you this. The Bible talks about using God's name in vain. You know how many people you hear kind of slip up and just say the G word, just here and there, and you will use God's name in vain. I want you to think about this. The Bible takes that very serious. Let's break the 3rd commandment there. The Bible calls that blasphemy. And here's what you're doing. You got Hitler killed 6 million Jews. We don't use his name when we get upset or we stub our toe. But God, we breathe life into each and every one of us. We stub our toe and we use His name. You see that? We take the Creator, the author of life, and we drag His name through the mud. The Bible takes that so seriously, it calls it blasphemy. So what's that make you? If you've done that before, it makes you a blasphemer. And here's one that got me and every guy in this room, because if you're living, you got blood running through your veins. Jesus said this, you've heard of old, do not commit adultery. But I tell you, whoever looks upon a woman to lust after her has committed adultery already with her in his heart. You ever been there? Done that. So that means not only our actions, but our thoughts are taken into account with this holy and righteous standard called the 10 Commandments. By our own admission, it doesn't matter what you think about yourself or what mom and dad or grandma and grandpa think about you, because God sees you as this. There's a line in the 10 Commandments where lying, thieving, blasphemous, adulterers, at heart. That's 4 canons of the 10 Commandments. 6 more pointed out. So I don't even think we got to go any further. Does that make sense? That's how God sees us. Lying, thieving, blasphemous, adulterers at heart. Now I hope you're seeing our risk here. The fact that we are living, we're human beings, and if we don't take care of things, that's how God sees us. That leads us to S. Consider your situation. I want you to think about this for a moment. Consider your situation, because maybe you're getting a little depressed right now with this sermon, with this message, and think, wow, this really brightened up my day. I went to church and now I'm more depressed, but hold on, I'm not done yet. Okay?